We're going to be talking about securing your sats. I'm here with Pascal Gauthier, the CEO of Ledger, creator of Bitcoin hardware and security. I'm Stephan Livera. I actually live in Dubai, but I'm focused on Bitcoin educational material as well. So let's just talk a little bit about where things are at. Obviously, in Bitcoin, we have this saying, everyone knows it, not your keys, not your coins. It's an important one. Do you want to just start us off with what is the current state of Bitcoin? Obviously, we've recently hit 100K. Can you just give us some overview thoughts?
Sure. So hello, everyone. Very happy to be here today. So look, we often talk about what Ledger does, hardware as self-custody, but I think the way to think about it is very more as a digital property, okay? So with Bitcoin, there was an invention of this peer-to-peer electronic payment system, but one of the invention was the fact that now you can own a digital asset, and it's yours. And the way to own it is because you own a secret. And so what we do at Ledger, we protect secrets. That's what we do. We protect secrets when they're at rest, and we protect secrets when they move, meaning when you do a transaction. When you do a transaction with Bitcoin, you have to prove to the protocol that you know your secret, but only to the protocol. If you give your secret to someone else, by definition, it's no longer a secret. And so for a long time, and especially at the beginning of crypto in, let's say, when we started 10 years ago in 2014, the main use case was buy and hold. You would buy Bitcoin, you would put it on your ledger, and then you would forget your ledger forever. And it's funny because just before coming on stage, I was having a discussion in a group with a bunch of OGs who still think that this is the main use case. You buy your Bitcoin, you put it on ledger, and you forget that it's there. And 10 years after, you take your ledger from your drawer and you try to use it. Okay, there are two mistakes here. Number one, Ledger is a consumer electronic, and so if you take any consumer electronic device, you put it in a drawer, you take it out of the drawer 10 years after, you can be sure that it's not going to work, okay? And number two, the game has completely evolved. Today, and what's important and what is important to understand in the future is why not your keys, not your crypto. Before, it was something quite philosophical. It's like, I can own something digital, I can own value. I don't trust the banks, I don't trust the system, so I want to own myself and have an edge compared to the main financial system. But today is different. That is still true to a certain extent, but what is even more true and what is very important to understand is, what is Bitcoin? Bitcoin is a public protocol. What is Ethereum? These are public protocols. For the past 10 years, we've been building the protocol, okay? Just like the World Wide Web is a protocol. And what's happening now and what has been happening for the past years, especially with Ethereum, Solana, but now it's happening also on Bitcoin, now we're building an applicative layer on top of the protocol. Think about the World Wide Web and think that Facebook is an application that sits on top of the World Wide Web. And so an application like DeFi, for example, decentralized finance, this is an application that sits on top of a protocol. And if you don't own your private keys, you cannot interact with the application. You cannot interact with the protocol. So that's what Ledger has become, but also that's where the market is going. So not your keys, not your crypto, that's for sure, but not your keys. There is nothing else that you can do with your crypto but watching it grow. Whether it's on your ledger or at a bank, the use case of buy and hold is still valuable. If you want to hold Bitcoin forever, the value will certainly go up, and you don't need to do anything else. But if you want to engage at protocol level and engage with DeFi and engage with art and engage with the different things that are being built on these public protocols, you need to own your private keys. And before it was only true for Ethereum and Solana and a few other protocols, but now it's starting to be true for Bitcoin because 24 has been the year where building on top of Bitcoin has become or is becoming possible, and DeFi on Bitcoin is something that will happen in the near future. And so definitely not your keys, not your coins, yes.
So let's get into some of this around, okay, so obviously we were talking about the hodling, people buy and hold, and we say hodl, and obviously that's an important aspect of Bitcoin. Hodling is a use of Bitcoin, but I think what you're getting at there, Pascal, is around what other things may people want to do with their Bitcoin over time. And so maybe that is also the question, because what we are seeing with various instruments around the world, and we can get into this, that as an example, there's now the ETFs, and there's now people who are using things like MicroStrategy or others to have access to Bitcoin, and maybe there are, let's say, centralized platforms where people are maybe using their Bitcoin and they want to do this loans and borrowing against it and collateral and these aspects of it, whereas maybe the, let's say, crypto native form of that, and I think that's what you were touching on there with the not your keys aspect of it. So how do you see these two worlds coexisting, right? Because I can imagine there will be a lot of people who are maybe, they are new, they haven't learned how to use a hardware wallet yet, and they come in through some of these forms. So how do you see the balance of these worlds coexisting?
Yeah, so I think it's not just because of hardware wallets, right? Like, it's a feature of a public protocol. You can build applications on top, and then the question is, how do you interact? The hardware wallet and Ledger is probably the safer way to interact, but you can use a software wallet. There are many other ways to interact at the protocol level, right? I think in the past, we've made the mistake to think that it was 1 or 0. It's either you own your private keys, and then you're a hero, or you leave your private keys with Coinbase and you're 0, right? So I think the world is full of opportunities and services. I think think about your normal life, your physical life. For some things, you own it yourself, and you take the risk of owning it. Your identity, your watches, etc. There is some stuff that you keep at home. There is some stuff where you do your own security. And for other things, you leave it at the bank, or you have, custodians for your art, and there are different services out there. And even for your watches, actually, you can trust like a custodian with your watch, and when you need to wear your watch, they send it to you. So I think the world of digital value will actually be the same, and the world of digital value is going to be the world of value. 20 years ago. We didn't know that we were going to be digital beings. 20 years ago was 2004, and I can tell you that I was at Yahoo, and even at Yahoo, even employees at Yahoo didn't really understand that we were going to become digital beings. And people didn't understand that we were going to be on our mobile phones all day long. People didn't understand all these things, and it was only 20 years ago. I can tell you that in 20 years, we'll look back and we'll realize that all value will be tokenized. Not so much, again, because of a philosophical standpoint, but just because these are better rails to transfer value. It's a better technology to transfer value. And because of that, so much more value is going to come on those public blockchains. You don't need to trust my word for it. I mean, there are many speakers out there like Michael Saylor that make a great case about it. Like, if you haven't watched yet Michael Saylor make that point, go on YouTube. He makes that point better than anybody else. But once you start thinking like that, if a lot of the world value goes on the public blockchain, then you will need like a bunch of services anyways. Like you need centralized services. I mean, ETFs have been extremely good to the market because they bring a lot of money. They push the price up. And this is very good overall for the Bitcoin public blockchain because the price of the Bitcoin is not just speculation. It is also the security of the blockchain, right? Like the blockchain gets more secure when the price goes up. Bitcoin has more liquidity, and so therefore building an application on top of Bitcoin becomes more interesting. And so all of these things are here to coexist in the future. It's not black or white or 1 or 0. You will need self-custody to do many things. You will probably leave some coins at the bank, and that's fine.
Yeah, so I think, as you said, there's a spectrum, and people will choose components. They may keep some on a phone wallet, maybe some on a hardware wallet, and some with, maybe there'll be a financial service provider, or there'll be some other way that they're using some of those coins. So I think there's going to be a mix of those things, and people will pick and choose what are the right solutions for them. So here we are, end of 2024. We just hit 100K, or let's say right now today about 99K, whatever we are. If you had to give a rough number, how many people in the world have some Bitcoin?
Well, so there are a bunch of people in the world that have Bitcoin, and the question, how many people in the world have real money and own their private keys? That's a different question. So people with Bitcoin in the world, I don't know, 600 million. But for me, it's like they bought like Apple stock on Robinhood. Like, so most of these people actually bought like a Bitcoin or part of a Bitcoin on Binance, on Coinbase, Kraken, etc., etc. The first wave actually of Bitcoin, we talk about ETFs now, but the ETFs of the past were the exchanges, right? Like, you would buy your Bitcoin and hold it there. You would never see your private keys. But actually, for the past 10 years, it was okay. I mean, the problem is always nobody is too big to fail, and you learn that fire burns by touching it, and so typically people lost a lot of money with Celsius, with FTX, and the 22 debacle of crypto was largely due to those, let's say, new financial institutions. Some, like FTX, were thought too big to fail, and yet they failed. And so there is always this concept. Bitcoin was born on the wings of the 2008 financial crisis, and Lehman Brothers failing, and the financial system almost crumbling on itself. And so we must never forget that. Like, one of the reasons why you want to keep some of your value with you is also you cannot put all your eggs in the same basket. But I think, what happened in the past is the past. What will happen in the future? And so there are probably, I don't know, people with more than $1,000 and that own their private keys in the world. 20 million people, 30 million people, but not a lot. We sold close to 8 million devices now. We have a good market share on, different buckets of depending on if you have value or not. So we have a good understanding of how many people hold their private keys. We think this number is going to go ballistic because in the past, why ledger? Why owning your private keys? It was difficult. It's the easy tech versus hard tech problem. Using Coinbase is so easy. And we're all very lazy, okay? We're all very lazy because in our digital life, we've been told to be lazy. Your digital self doesn't belong to you. It belongs to Google. It belongs to Apple. This is very new, the fact that you can own something digital, that you can own your identity, that it's you. Digital, right? Your identity, you have your passport on you, okay? I've got my passport here, so it's with me. I own it, okay? And I'm not talking about like owning the identity. That's the government thing, but owning the documents, okay? Where is your digital passport today? Nowhere. Where is it going to be tomorrow? It's going to be on your ledger, right? And so all of this is happening in the next 10 years. What has happened yet in terms of digital property is the tip of the iceberg. And the iceberg is to come because so many things you will want to own privately. Let me give you a very simple example. Today, your communication is neither secure nor private. As soon as something runs on a phone, you're not secure, you're not private. I can ask my hackers to hack any of your phones in less than 30 seconds, okay? And if you're very important, I will pay whatever money to hack your phone, okay? That's super easy. Whatever is on your phone, I can see, I can steal. That's true, that's fact, okay? Do you really want us to stay like this for the next 10 years? And now that more values are coming onto public blockchains, now that more value you can own, are you sure you want to leave your millions of dollars of Bitcoin or hundreds of thousands of tens of thousands of dollars of Bitcoin on your phone? No, you're not sure. If you have your identity on your phone now, are you sure you want to leave it on your phone now that you know that I can hack it? Probably not. And what about your communications? People always say, well, I got nothing to hide. Okay, well, I got nothing to hide, but the conversation I have with my wife, I want them to stay private. It's between me and my wife. It's okay. Or sometimes when we do business, we have things that are very private that we need, to stay private. People try to spy on you for different reasons. Today, there is no communication channel on your phone that guarantees you security and privacy. I don't care if it's Telegram, I don't care if it's Signal, I don't care if it's any app that you're using. As soon as it runs on the phone, you're not secure, you're not private. So Ledger will fix this over the years because everything that is online, that is your digital safe, that you want secure and private, will have to go on a security device.
Right, so I guess the idea we're getting at there is segregating, the private key away, or making sure, or helping you secure or encrypt in the case of communication. And so, one way to think about that is maybe things like PGP existed, and then now Signal and WhatsApp, and I guess they can kind of help you a little bit, but ultimately, these things can still be cracked. And so, I guess you're getting at this idea that you could have some of your keys or some form of encryption that keeps that offline, I guess. That's what you're
No. So it's
getting
not.
at?
So this is a misconception that comes from the early days. So when Satoshi wrote the white paper, he wrote nothing about the private keys. Like, it was not a concern. And me, when I read the white paper, I thought, well, okay, well, what do I do with this? Like, because now I got the private key with all my money on it. Where do I put it? The world of security is a very different world from the world of, sort of software. So there are a lot of misconceptions out there. Security is important today. Online security is important today. Will be more important tomorrow, the day after tomorrow, and the day after tomorrow, because there are two phenomena that happen at the same time. One, there is more value that goes online every day. I don't care if it's in a public blockchain or not, but like in general, there is more value that goes online every day. And there are more hacking every year. The 24 will be a record year for hacking. 25 will beat 24. 26 will beat 25, etc., etc. So because of these two phenomena, you need to think about your security. And again, we need to unlearn everything that we know and think about this new world. First of all, if security is about putting something under a mountain with armed guards and F-35 ready to scramble at any sign of attack, okay, this is not good security because you cannot just use anything, okay? So security has to rhyme with usability. If security is too hard to use, then it defeats the purpose of even being secure. And what we're trying to do is to bring the two together. So offline doesn't help anybody. You're trying to protect online value by being offline. I mean, it's crazy. You want online value to be protected being online because you want to be able to engage with the value online. And if you want to engage with your Bitcoin, your Ethereum, your Solana, etc., and you want to use that application layer that is being built on top of a protocol, you need to be online. It's as if you say, okay, I'm going to use the internet, but it's so dangerous that I'm going to use it offline. Okay, but no, it doesn't make sense. Like,
yeah, I guess the way I'm seeing it is more like you might have you think of it like maybe your cold storage, you kind of have some of those things more offline, whereas like you have a smaller amount that's more day to day.
No, okay.
You don't see it that way?
No, because cold storage doesn't exist, okay? Cold storage is this idea that it's cold means it's offline, and so you have two states of your coin, one that is very secure because it never touches the internet, and one that is not secure, but it's okay to take a risk when you're going to make a transaction. Okay, but that's not future-proof. If I tell this room that, hey, by the way, get Bitcoin, put it wherever you want, but as soon as you're going to touch it and want to do a transaction, you're taking a risk. And God knows what the risk is. That's not great. Like, you cannot compromise on security like that. And you cannot also say, no, but it's okay because you only take the risk when you're going to buy a coffee. Okay, but that's not great either. It's just like, it just means that it doesn't work. And so this idea of cold storage, it comes from the very beginning of Bitcoin, when nobody knew how to protect the seed, nobody knew how to protect the private key. So the only way to do it was to keep it offline, so no attackers can attack it, which actually is not true. I'll spare you the details, but even that doesn't work. The only thing that works is if you have real security around your private key, and whatever you do with it, whether you don't use it or you use it, you still have the same security. Only then the industry can scale. By the way, this is what we do at Ledger. So at Ledger, if you don't touch your Ledger, you're secure. And if you want to make a transaction, you're as secure as if you don't touch your Ledger. And so this is the promise, and this is what it has to be, because in the future, you will want to touch your crypto and move it and engage with DeFi, etc., more and more often. And you cannot take the risk to lose it every time you touch it. And that's with your money. But imagine you put your real estate now and your real estate deeds on the blockchain. You put your identity, you put your health data, you put everything that is you. You cannot say that, oh, as long as it's offline, it's okay, but as soon as I'm going to have to use it to send it to my doctor, think about your health data, I might lose it. No, that's not acceptable. So you cannot compromise on security. And so we come from this world where your security was never your problem. It was the problem of Google. It was the problem of Apple. And so now the thing is, we need to come back to a moment in our life where now it's going to have to be your problem a little bit. I talked to my grandfather when he was alive, and he'd done World War II in France back in the days. And for him, having money with him, having gold, diamonds, cash, was always very important. And I never quite understood why. And one day he explained to me that, when he had to move fast. And so he had to grab value with him and sort of move fast. And so for him, he always had like a security setup at home that is something that we don't have these days with us, because the money is at the bank, etc. And by the way, we say this because this is the UAE, this is France, Europe, the USA. Now, if you go to other countries, it's not so simple. Your bank doesn't work so well, and your money has inflation, etc., etc. And so this world where you need to take care of your stuff and understand what is the security that you put around it exists in many countries, and it is something that we need to work hard on and educate ourselves to what this future means. And it's okay. We're here to help, and it's going to be easy.
Yeah, okay. So, I mean, maybe we slightly differ on a few of the questions around things like what you would do with, the security that I would place on the amount of the transaction to buy a house is different to the security for, me to buy a coffee with my Lightning, that kind of thing. But anyway, that aside.
No, but that you're right. So you're 100% right. You could say, okay, I've got my, like you have your wallet in your pocket with your $100, and you can be mugged in the street. You can lose your $100 on the floor. Okay, that you can have a different security setting for that. But even that, I say you can pretty much secure it very nicely with many ways of doing it now going in the future. But so I agree with you on that. Like you can degrade your security, but for most of your assets, you will need tip-top securities anyways.
I see. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about the Ledger, suite of products, and maybe we can talk a little bit about, let's say, the price ranges and the different types of devices and offerings you have, just to kind of explain for people. So can you just give us just a quick overview there?
Yeah, sure. I mean, we're trying to have a product for everyone. So the price ranges from sort of $79 all the way to $399, depending on whether you want the luxury Lexus or you want the Toyota Prius. That's one way of thinking about this. Most products do pretty much the same, so you won't be disappointed if you get the 79 Toyota Prius. It will get you from A to B. And if you get and so that's the Nano S Plus, but if you get the Stacks, which is the $399 product, it will get you from A to B in style, okay, because it's a very nice product. It's been designed by the inventor of the iPod, Tony Fadell, and it's a thing of beauty. The difference between the two type of products is one looks like a USB stick, and Stacks and Flex, the two new products, have a very nice secure touchscreen. The reason why we designed Stacks and Flex is because they are future-proof, and they do what I just explained. In the future, you want to engage more and more with your private keys. You will have to sign more and more transactions. The transactions are getting more complex. You need a bigger screen, and you need ease of use in order for this to be a delightful experience. In the past, we were secure, we were okay to use. It got better over time, but our customers always said, it's not easy enough. Like, we want something that is much easier to use because we start to use this every day. And so this is why we design new products, to be secured, very secure, whatever you do, and easy to use is actually something quite difficult when you do security, but it's something I think that we are starting to nail with these two new products, Stacks and Flex. Right now, they're a bit more expensive, and why? Because this is new technology that we put into it. We have e-ink screens, and we are doing something that has never been done in consumer electronic for the ease of use, for the improved UX and UI. But over time, we will bring more new products to the market and keep on being innovative, because we believe that your hardware wallet is a bit like your phone. Think about the mobile phone that you had 20 years ago. Think about the mobile phone that you have today. Think about what you were doing with your mobile phone 20 years ago, and think about what you're doing with your mobile phone today. We feel that hardware wallets will follow the same trend. And before you ask, is your phone going to do this? Unlikely. And why? Because think about Fort Knox. Okay, if I give you $10 billion worth of gold bar and I ask you to secure it in a building, but in the same building I want you to have a nightclub on the rooftop, a daycare center, and a shopping mall, you ask for two buildings. So when it comes to hardware, I think that if your hardware has a very specific mean for you, and the mean in terms of security, I feel that it's good to have two hardwares. One is for your secure stuff, the other one is for your entertainment. This is for now how we see the future, but we are happy to change our mind and evolve if technology evolves differently.
Yeah, so as you were saying, in the early days of hardware wallets, they were very small screens. This was a new thing. And now, similar to how smartphones started, right? Like phones started with very small screens, and nowadays the trend is bigger screens. So in a similar way, I guess the more premium Ledger devices, the Stacks and the Flex, have bigger screen, e-ink, and that could make sense as well for users when they are doing more complex transactions and maybe in the future maybe more complex security setups, right? I know Ledger is big on mini-script. I mean, we're not going to go into the detail of that, but the idea might be that you could use more advanced conditions, and maybe this might be useful for things like redundancy, inheritance, and other security aspects that maybe you need, it's a company and you need 2 of 3 to sign, and this kind of, having the screen really is valuable for that also. So those are some of the things. Just as we're closing out, we've got just under 2 minutes, just about 2 minutes left. So let's talk about, we're going into, well, it looks like we're going into a bull cycle. Do you have any predictions for people, any common mistakes to avoid, any pitfalls that you think people should know?
Yeah, I think it depends where your business is, but refrain from investing too much in the bull cycle, in terms of costs for your company. The common mistake that usually, that we might have done in the past and other companies, bull cycle comes, you get super excited, you're coming out of 2 or 3 years that were pretty nasty, and now you want to let go, you want to build, and so you double or triple the size of your team. Okay, that's a terrible mistake because the market will tell you very quickly it's a mistake, and then you have to do layoffs, et cetera, et cetera. I think through the last cycle, we all went through this. But also, maybe prediction. The last cycle was very difficult because we went from the top of Mount Everest to the depths of Challenger Deep. Challenger Deep is this marina trench next to the Philippines. It's actually deeper than the Everest is taller. It's 12,000 meter deep. I think this cycle will be a little different because I could see FTX and Celsius fail. I wasn't sure, but it was a possibility in my mind. It's harder for me to see BlackRock fail. And so I think the fundamentals of crypto, Bitcoin, etc. in this cycle are much stronger than in the last cycle. So I think it will go up, it will eventually go down, but I don't think it will go down as steeply as it went down last time. That being said, still, the main advice is don't hire too much in the bull cycle and invest a lot in a bear cycle.
Fantastic. Well, I think that's all we have time for. So everyone, please put your hands together for Pascal.
Is your company ready for the next evolution in financial strategy? Bitcoin for Corporations is your partner in securing the future of your business. With exclusive membership benefits, our comprehensive masterclass, and a network of trusted service providers, we provide the insights and resources to help you incorporate Bitcoin into your financial strategy, ensuring stability and long-term value. Strengthen your business. Innovate with confidence. Bitcoin for Corporations, protecting your treasury and positioning you for the future.